Welcome back. We're talking about developments now in Nigeria's energy market. Let's bring in Bosin Omofaye, Channel's business editor, to take us through what's going on there. Good morning to you, Bosin.
Do I have any idea what's going on?
But a few things.
I have an idea of a few things going on. One, the petrol scarcity eases up a little bit. The roads are clear, but
where are you coming from, Bosin? What part of Lagos are you coming from?
Well, I'm an uptown guy. You folks who are downtown, we have a different scenario. So I drive down uptown to downtown Lagos. You want to look at the map of Lagos, where that is? I live a little bit to the northwest. Is it northwest or northeast? I'm trying to remember. Okay, northwest of Lagos.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you're coming from northwest of Lagos, you don't see those few queues, because where I'm coming from, I pass those few queues. They're literally staring at me in the face, causing untold. If you don't even want to imagine the kind of traffic jam.
I tried to,
and then you're wondering why can't we sort this issue quickly? As in,
I tried to refill.
Coming in.
I tried to refill this morning, and I drove past more than a dozen gas stations before getting here, and I couldn't get any supply. So the last one, I was getting late to work, so I just decided I was going to do that later.
So really, is it easing? It's not.
Well, easing to the extent that the volume of supplies was not as crunching as they were 2 weeks ago. So to that extent, you see some ease, but I think folks had just adjusted themselves to, one, the lack of this product, the scarcity, and the, well, I don't want to say deregulated, the prices at which the outlets decide to sell. 3 days ago, I got a liter at 130.
Well, that's for Lagos. In Benue State, for instance, some say they're buying for as much as 200, 250 naira per liter. So
I don't know whether Lagos is the place to be, but of course I think, every day you see, like some of the images on television, you find a lot of human energy and fights, physical fisticuffs at various petrol stations. So
that's in Makudina.
So you find a problem coming from petrol scarcity resulting in human anger among the people and the petrol attendants, and the resultants will be some headbutts, some some what they call violence, if you're going to put it that way. Human violence.
I really don't envy petrol station attendants right now, because they are getting that short end of the stick. You're angry, you can't take out your anger on the people who you're angry with, so you're taking it out on the immediate person, which is a petrol station attendant, and he's suffering it just like you. His own job is to dispense petrol to you, and that's what he's trying to do. But then you're so angry, you're bitter, and then you turn. Fill up my tank. You pay 150 naira for a liter, and then you get angry. A shot
earlier there, just a few seconds ago, of those automobiles parked to the roadside. Some folks sleep inside those vehicles. They need some few jerry
some just park it there and
liters,
go home.
yes, and just go home for days. And what do you expect when you get to the pump, right at the pump, and you don't get attended to on time? Some few folks come with other automobiles or motorcycles or jerry cans, and you're trying to say, look, you got to get it at this price. All that pent-up anger and frustration, the way to expend it will be at the petrol stations. That's not right, that's wrong, but that's what is happening right now. Look at those folks, they were there for hours and days on end just to eke out a few liters, and that's not as easy as you would find it. This has been a recurring image for Nigeria for more than 10, 20, 30 years. And that is not a good poster boy for Africa's largest oil producer.
It's going to continue like that. Maybe it might taper off for now if they're able to get the products out fast enough for consumers to, to get, but that it might come back again as quickly as April. May,
no. This problem isn't over yet. This problem isn't over yet. And maybe we just talk more a little bit about this, which is the main discussion as folks go to the weekend. The petrol scarcity, let's just start from there, Harriet, and keep that conversation from that end. Then we can talk about the oil stocks later on in a few minutes. But the petrol subsidy is where some of the issues are right now. The issue is the petrol subsidy hasn't been removed. In terms of pricing, because folks are still worried about the scarcity on one hand and how much they'll pay, there's no removal of petrol subsidy yet. What we have currently is what you call pricing modulation. That's what the head of the NNPC said a few months ago. The price is now being modulated to reflect the price of crude oil at the international marketplace. If you remember, a few months ago, some folks were saying we should go back to 97.50 per litre. Now the government of Muhammadu Buhari says no, via the NNPC, we will keep the 87, right? 87.50 for the independent retailers and 87 naira for the NNPC outlets. That was what we had. So because price of crude oil was around $29 a barrel at that time, in the last 1 week we've seen crude prices back to $40 a barrel. So right now, the PPPRA template is showing that disparity. So the NNPC will have to go back to the drawing board to try to manage this price modulation, because as soon as crude prices go higher, you will have to adjust petrol prices higher as well, because that is what you called pricing modulation. You set your local pump price, you tie it to the price of crude oil. If crude oil goes back to $100 to $120 a barrel, which is in my dream, Harry, just don't laugh. But in my dream, $120 a barrel for price of crude, then the price of petrol at the gas stations would definitely go higher, unless we move for full deregulation of that sector. That's where we are. So petrol subsidy is not yet removed. There was no provision for that in the 2016 budget. The budget will be out next week, hopefully. Then we'll come back to this conversation again. We'll use a torchlight, take our toothpick to try to find petrol subsidy in there. If it's not there, then we'll go back to ask more questions.
No, but already it's very clear that it's not provided for in the 2016 budget. The 2015 budget expires at the end of this month. And so, technically speaking, the 2016 budget should become operational 1st of April. And 1st of April happens to fall around the weekend. So let's just say on the 3rd or the 4th, which it should be on a Monday, the budget, 2016 budget should become operational. And when it does become operational, there is no provision for petrol subsidy, whether for petrol or whether for kerosene. Well,
if you look at the issue of kerosene as well, if I may add that to the fry pan that we had on the fire. Sorry.
Bosin, let people start this weekend on a little
hold on a
bright
second.
note.
The subsidy on kerosene is still there. The PPPRA template shows that for NNPC outlets, kerosene is subsidized by 81 kobo per litre. Full subsidy for the entire sector, for entire kerosene story, 117 kobo, 117 kobo. So there's subsidy still on kerosene. What the government is trying to do is this. I don't want to use the word smart, but try to be a little bit political about this. Tell folks on the street there is no subsidy for kerosene, but use the PPPRA template to find a way around it and present a picture of everything is good, calm, and nice. But that is also with the petrol subsidy right now. Folks believe there is no subsidy because nobody wants to hear that you're spending 1 trillion naira, 2011 to 2012, on petrol subsidy. So folks are a little bit quiet that petrol subsidy has been removed. But that hasn't been removed because we're doing pricing modulation. And what is modulation? It has to go with the voice pattern when you're delivering a speech. That's just what price modulation is all about. So if you modulate price with the modulation, means you rise with the waves and land gentle like a stock market graph.
But then, you know, Bosin, the truth is, a lot of people are now more aware and they're asking questions. So it's up to you and I, when these numbers eventually come out, to bring the experts in, and we'll, like you said, use a toothpick to comb through this, you know, these numbers as they're coming out and make sense of all of it. Do we have subsidy on petrol? Do we have subsidy on kerosene? And if we don't have subsidy on petrol, but we have subsidy on kerosene, how much are we subsidizing kerosene? And at what rate should you be able to get it as a consumer, as an end user? For how long will we continue to subsidize on kerosene? When we're talking about moving away from all of these oil products, bringing it back home to import, we have the refineries to still deal with. We have other issues, of course, coming up in the oil and gas sector. We have the petroleum industry bill. We have a plethora of issues that we need to be talking about with regards to oil and gas industry.
Yes, the refinery story you just hinted about there is still one major issue out there. We need to deal with it. If I may add very quickly, Dangote Refinery is moving on with its own plan, almost $10 billion facility. And what we heard this morning was that Dangote Refinery plans to send about 1,000 Nigerians to India to learn how to run refineries. It looks like Dangote has his own eyes to run this as a private thing. He wants the guys who's going to do it. So the first set of these Nigerian engineers who will run the first private refinery, if Aliko meets the 2018 deadline that he set for himself, if he meets that deadline, these first people who will be leaving Nigeria on Sunday, that's in another 2 days from now, Sunday, 9 o'clock in the morning, they'll be flying out of Nigeria, go to India to learn about how to run a petrochemical facility, to be more precise. This is the first 50, and sources at Dangote Group told us this morning that a total of 1,000 people will be involved in this overseas human resource skill training to run this refinery. So from all indications, some of the guys who are in the existing refineries who think they are crossing over, well, you need to go through a brand new training to get this new refinery work. Dangote is firewalling his own $9 billion. That's a lot of money.
Well, also just to quickly clear on something, when we're talking about oil, how much petrol is sold for per litre, the NNPC sells at 86 naira. It's the market
independent at 86.50.
86.50.
Yeah, 86.50. Yes, not 87, I beg your pardon. 86.50. I guess if we put in another 10 naira, which was what we had in 2014, thereabout, then we go back to 87. Oh, sorry, 97, I beg your pardon. About 96, 97 naira per litre. I knew the differential was about 10 naira per litre in terms of petrol. But if you come back to the PPP template, you still have to deal with these differentials. But the government is trying to make everybody keep calm, keep the citizens calm. So the conversation you find from the NNPC is a little bit like no subsidy. But again, the PPPRA template reveals that the subsidy is still there, because what we're dealing with right now is pricing modulation. I think folks are beginning to forget that we're dealing with a price modulation based on crude prices. So now that crude prices are heading now at the $40 and no longer at $30 a barrel, you have to deal with the $10 thereabout differential in the crude price of crude at the international marketplace. You need to translate that, therefore, at what price are you bringing these products into Nigeria and you're dispensing to members of the public. That is where they say the devil is in the details.
All right, Bosin. Well,
do we still have time to talk about the energy stocks?
Yes, we do. So I was just going to ask, it looks like it was quite muted yesterday. We didn't see any much activity around oil and gas stocks.
Yes, the markets has been really, really tested since Monday. A lot of activities are all going on, all penultimate, Monday, Tuesday, next week, Harriet, when the central bank and Mayfield's team goes to the meetings to decide on the next interest rate direction. So you had the debt management auction, aggressive treasury bills auction by the central bank as well, liquidity in the bank, in the financial system. Then you find those earnings, some bitter, some sweet, on the streets. So the market was really, equities market was really tested. So there wasn't much activities on Thursday, except on Oando, off track by 4.82%. The rest of the market were quiet, holding their breath for the inflation that came out on Monday and what that would translate into monetary policy direction when the central bank concludes its meeting 2 o'clock local time on Tuesday and hold the traditional media briefing at about 2:30. We'll cover that for all our viewers here and around the world to find out what Nigeria is deciding. But if you look at other central banks around the world, the decision has been keep things a little bit easy, keep it easy. Let's hope things get better. Let's see how things go from here, Harry. But if you look at the rest of the market, it's a little bit tested out for the oil and gas stocks, 10.1% in the red, tracking the broader market now. So looks like we've erased previous gains for the oil and gas companies that we track every day here on the program and for the entire local market.
Well, thank you so much, Bosin, for bringing those numbers to us. Of course, we'll see you on the other side
It's
the
Friday.
show.
It's Friday.
Yes, it is
so
a Friday.
So thank God it's Friday. So we can all have a nice weekend and come back on Monday and we all wait Put a cup of coffee and hold on Emefiele.
But Bosin, it's really not going to be a very nice weekend because everybody is literally going to be biting their nails. So much is going to be happening next week. We have the the Economic Conference starting Monday and Tuesday in Abuja. And
That's the retreat at the Villa.
The retreat.
We are not invited. You and I are not invited. So it's not an open conference. It's a closed-door meeting.
Yeah, but then you see,
perhaps after the retreat, the government will come up to take Professor Wale Soyinka, the Nobel laureate, advice on economic conference. But the soundbite, the body language from the government at the economic conference will likely take place. Perhaps this is the backdoor working committee to sort that out before the full one, in which you and I may just be hanging around reporting it as usual.
Well, yes,
but the Monday retreat is going to be at the Villa. It's behind closed doors. Between the governors, the vice president, the president, Minister of Finance, the budget and planning minister, Godwin Emefiele, of course, is the man in the room that everybody will be reading his lips to find out. So he's the guy who's going to feel some heat while sitting down there.
So apart from that story, we also have the MPC meeting coming on Monday and Tuesday. So,
next week is Emefiele's week, everybody. Take note of that.
A lot to chew. So maybe
I wish him well.
Well, thank you so much, Bosin, of course, for coming on the program. We'll take a quick break now. And when we come back, we're still looking at Nigeria beyond oil and the future of the economy. Join us again.